out there. Today we're going to be talking about a character who is a clone of probably the strongest hero in the DC universe. And by that character, we're talking about Bizarro. Now, by its very name, since we like weird characters on this channel, of course we have to do a Bizarro video. Now, Bizarro is a supervillain slash anti-hero by DC Comics. This character was created by writer Otto Binder and artist George Papp as a mirror image of Superman, and first appeared in Superboy number 68 in 1958. Now, normally the character is portrayed as an antagonist to Superman, although on occasion he also takes an anti-hero role. Now, because there's so many different iterations of the Bizarro character, we're going to try to go through all of them. It gets a little confusing. We'll tell you a little bit about each, and you can go from there. Now, the Bizarro concept in the Superboy comics, they introduced these strange speech patterns that become synonymous with this character. Pretty much with all of Bizarro's comments meaning the opposite. Bad means good, good means bad. The newspaper version actually wears a B on his chest, as opposed to Superman's distinctive S. Now, at one point, he actually joins General Zod's Bizarro army. Now, this isn't actually Bizarro. General Zod had originally created Bizarro duplicates of himself to dominate the planet Krypton. Now, these Bizarros had no power because they were not under a yellow sun, but they were soldiers ready to kill and die without any hesitation. And this was actually the main reason why Zod was banished to the Phantom Zone for 25 Krypton sun cycles. Now, in the original Bizarro Superboy storyline, some 12 years later, a scientist on Earth is demonstrating a newly invented duplicating ray on Superboy, and an accident causes the ray to duplicate the superhero. Now, this copy is quickly labeled Bizarro as a flawed imitation of a chalky white skin and childlike erratic behavior of Superboy. Now, the people of Smallville actually shun him, and Bizarro befriends a blind girl named Melissa. He loses all hope when he realizes the girl did not shun him or flee from him because she was blind. Now, Superboy is eventually forced to quote-unquote kill the less than perfect clone using the remains of the duplication machine, which acts like blue kryptonite on the copy. The whole business proved unexpectedly easy as Bizarro deliberately destroyed himself by colliding with the duplicating machine's fragment. The ensuing explosion miraculously restores Melissa's eyesight. Now, the first Bizarro comes years afterwards. Now, Superman's arch foe Lex Luthor recreates the duplicating ray and uses it on the hero, the whole time hoping to control the duplicate that became known as Bizarro 1. The Bizarro that's created, however, is confused, stating, "Me not human, me not creature, me not even animal, me unhappy, me don't belong in a world of living people, me don't know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil." Now, Luthor is arrested by Bizarro for recreating him, as Bizarro attempts to emulate Superman, creating havoc in the city of Metropolis and almost exposing Superman's secret identity as Clark Kent. Now, when Bizarro falls in love with reporter Lois Lane, she actually uses the duplicating ray on herself to create a Bizarro Lois, who is instantly attracted to Bizarro. In addition, he also used the duplicating ray on himself to create new Bizarro, who later dies from exposure to green kryptonite. Now, these Bizarros leave Earth determined to find a home where they can be themselves. Now, later on, Superman encounters the couple once again, discovering that Bizarro, now called Bizarro 1, has used a version of the duplication ray to create an entire world of Bizarros, who now reside in a cube-shaped planet called Hatre. This is Earth spelled backwards. Now, Bizarro 1 and Bizarro Lois number 1 also give birth to a child who, while superpowered, appears to be totally, ironically, human. Considered a freak by all of the Bizarro standards, out of the resentment for the way he was treated by Earth humans, Bizarro 1 made a law that they must act the opposite of humans, causing no end to all of the lunacy. The child is the catalyst for a brief war between Heatre and Earth. Blue kryptonite is also invented during this war, as well as the temporary existence of Bizarro Supergirl. Bizarro also has a series of adventures on Heatre, aiding a normal Jimmy Olsen when he is accidentally trapped there, preventing an invasion of blue kryptonite statues, and stopping the Bizarro version of Titano, the super ape. Bizarro eventually encounters Superman once again, and his powers are now the opposites of Superman, such as freeze vision as opposed to heat vision, and heat breath rather than freeze breath. And once again, he attempts to kidnap Lois Lane. Bizarro also temporarily joins the secret society of supervillains to battle the Justice League of America and Captain Comet. Now, in the Project Changeling storyline in the post-crisis event, after the events of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Lex Luthor orders his scientific team to create a clone of Superman, and it was incorrectly starting from the notion that Superman is an actual human with just metahuman abilities. Now, at that time, his alien origin had not been revealed. The process results in a flawed copy, which Luthor dismissively refers to as this bizarre, oh, forget it, before ordering the subject to be disposed of. The clone survives and, although mute and possessed of only limited intelligence and vague memories of Clark Kent's life, attempts to then mimic Superman. He kidnaps Lois Lane once again and is finally destroyed while colliding with Superman in midair. Now, another version of Bizarro is the Dabney Donovan Bizarro. Now, this one is created by using Lex Luthor's clone process. It's used by none other than Lex Luthor's estranged wife, Contessa Portenza, and Dabney Donovan, shortly after Superman regained his normal powers when he expended his electromagnetic ones. Now, this Bizarro abducts Lex Luthor's baby daughter and intends to send her by rocket to another planet, thus emulating Kal-El's escape from Krypton. His pile of explosives and bombs meant to launch the rocket would have killed her instead. Bizarro 3, as he's more commonly called, already was self-destructing from a genetic booby trap encoded into him by his creator. Now, later on, after the crime syndicate takes over the world, Luthor releases subject B-0, though his transformation is only halfway through. Now, as a test, Luthor commands B-0 to unalive a security guard as a test. B-0 initially ignores the order but unalives the guard after the guard threatens Luthor with a gun. The B-0 will not commit any unaliving, but will protect as he seems to view him as a father figure. Luthor is pretty pleased and decides to use this imperfect clone in his plan to take the syndicate down. Later, when Luthor and his team of villains pass through a tunnel, B-0 is revealed to be afraid of darkness. Now, Luthor tries to comfort him with a story about his own fears, but ultimately wonders whether the clone was a waste of time. B-0 then speaks his first words, Bizarro, try, much to Luthor's surprise. Luthor grows truly fond of Bizarro, who proves to be a powerful asset throughout the event. Now, during the final confrontation against the Earth 3 invaders, Bizarro battles the alternative version of Luthor himself. Although he initially has the upper hand, Bizarro is fatally wounded and left to die. Luthor desperately tries to fix him to no avail, and they share a sorrowful goodbye. Enraged over the death of Bizarro, Lex Luthor unalives his Earth 3 counterpart, thus avenging Bizarro. Now, lastly, we have the DC Rebirth storyline, and in 2016, DC Comics implements another relaunch of its comics called DC Rebirth, which restored its continuity to a form much as it was prior to the New 52. A clone of Bizarro is found inside a tube of a train car stolen by Black Mask. The Red Hood and Artemis jump aboard the train car attempting to steal a weapon. They weren't expecting it to be a clone of Superman. But Bizarro eventually joins the Red Hood's outlaws. Now during this time, Bizarro is stricken with a sickness which causes his cells to rapidly deteriorate. After saving his teammates in the outlaws, he dies, and Lex Luthor takes the body to try to resurrect him on the sole condition that he be the property of LexCorp. This results in Bizarro becoming extremely smart. Now Bizarro and Artemis briefly get trapped into a different dimension but return to Earth. Bizarro becomes the ruler of Hell after killing Trigon and plans to be the ruler of Hell to make sure Earth is not in danger. Now as far as powers and abilities, generally Bizarro's powers are identical to Superman, with the most substantial difference being that some of the powers are in reverse. He has an Arctic vision that unleashes twin beams of sub-zero light from his eyes, which instantaneously freezes anything or anyone in contact. He has a flame breath, which allows him to exhale the superheated napalm-like substance, which causes severe burns and even melts steel at maximum intensity. He also has a vacuum breath. Instead of wind breath, he can inhale large amounts of air to draw people and objects closer towards him. He has a Bizarro telescopic vision, which allows Bizarro to see short distance behind his head, rather than a long distance in front of his head. He also has a Bizarro microscopic vision, which makes objects actually smaller to everyone, rather than merely appear to be bigger to only the user. He has an X-ray vision, which allows Bizarro to only see through lead, rather than the ability to see through anything except lead. He has a spotlight vision, which allows Bizarro to project beams of light to highlight what he's looking at. He also has X-ray hearing, which allows Bizarro to hear through everything except, you have it, lead. Now when he's operating within an environment that's under a blue sun, Bizarro gains the ability to replicate new life forms from his very own body mass. Using this power, he cloned a cube-shaped planet that has become colloquially known as Hiatre. This world is now populated by Bizarro versions of Superman, his family, friends, and even enemies. Similarly, Bizarro's weaknesses are quite reversed. Green kryptonite actually has an empowering effect on him, healing and strengthening his body similar to the effects of yellow sunlight on Superman, while only blue kryptonite affects Bizarro adversely in the same manner that the former does with normal Kryptonians, normally causing him debilitating pain and diminishing his superpowers. This is a very poignant tale of a Frankenstein monster. This character did not actually want to be a villain and didn't really know what it was supposed to be doing once it was brought into this world. But this is what we know of the character of Bizarro. You guys have a great day, a good morning, a great evening, whichever. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that around here. Also, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of this video, as well as write down below what character maybe you would like to see us make a video of on this channel, and we'll try to make it happen. As always, Excelsior.